What if you could build a business that gives you the life of freedom you deserve? What if you could find the secrets to marketing, leadership, customer service, and other aspects of business that help you exceed your goals? What if you could walk away from your business for 30 days and it never misses a beat? That's what this podcast is for, to help business leaders like you find freedom from the day-to-day grind and start spending your time doing the things you love. I'm Levi McClendon, and my co-host is Josh Taylor, and this is the Cheers to Freedom podcast.
Hey, welcome to the Cheers to Freedom podcast. I am Josh Taylor, and as always, I am here with my co-host, Levi McClendon. Levi, how are you?
Once again, Josh, I feel like I say the same thing all the time, but doing well. I don't know what else to say.
I'm glad
things are good. Things are good.
Something else that you would have to say, like, man, everything sucks, or it's just terrible. So I'm glad you're doing
no, I just got to be honest. Life is good, man. Just living it to the full and doing what we love to do every day. So it's good.
That's right. Things are going great. We're seeing, one of the things that we're seeing is a lot of these things that you and I have been talking about on the podcast, we've been able to test out, and it's been really fun to see the results that are coming through, because we're working with some of our customers that are really willing to try something different and take some risks. And so a lot of the things that you've talked about, that you've been talking about for a while, we're actually getting to implement and seeing some results in how they do. And it's been really fun. And part of that is what we're going to be talking about today with the story brand framework.
Yeah, I think just bringing that, what has changed my life and yours as well, literally, this whole building a story brand, book and philosophy and clarifying your message and whatnot, for me, changed my life literally about 4 years ago after reading this book. It just literally changed my perspective on life, on business, and helped me really clarify my story and, my direction that I was headed with the text marketing, my business company, things like that. And so just to see where it's at today and bring that to the wash and to the car wash space and really what you were talking about, people embracing this, which has been great. We've had a lot of customers really embracing a lot of the things that we're talking about. And now we're testing, which is awesome. I love testing. I love being able to really get the results of these websites you're building, of the opt-ins that we're doing, of the conversions that we're doing, and saying, hey, this is working, or this isn't working, but at least we know. So we get to make an educated decision on what to do next. So anyway.
You're right. And it's what we're going to talk about today. It really is, I think, a game changer for the folks that are listening. If you're listening to this, we're going to give a high-level overview of the story brand framework and walk through that and what that means. And then we may come back in the next few episodes and dissect some of that a little bit more and dive deeper in what does that mean for you. But I really do think that this one episode could change the perspective. And so Donald Miller wrote this. He put this together, and I won't go into the whole story. If you pick up the book, which we highly recommend, pick up the book Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, or we're going to be giving those away at the next show, right?
I was going to say, or make sure to come see us. We'll go ahead and get this out of the way now before we forget, but come see us at the show, the Southwest Car Wash Show, and or the ICA show in Nashville. So we're actually, Josh, here, I'm just going to throw this up here. This is the book. It's called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. So this hardback copy will be yours if you come by and just come say hi at the booth, and we'll give you a copy of that. So
you got to come early, though, because they're probably going to go really fast. If there's anything that I've learned at these shows, the swag goes really quick. Yeah. So come by, because we'll have like 300 at the Southwest show, and then like 600 or 700 at the ICA show. So we're giving away almost 1,000 books total between the two shows.
But that's how much we believe in this. We want to get this book. We want to get this framework in your hands, in your heads, so that you can start thinking differently about your business. And so we'll get into that. So before we go too far down that path, like Josh was saying, this is the story brand framework. Okay. It's a 7-part framework. So we're going to touch on 7 things. We're going to be really high level today. I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this. So Josh, if I do like this, then that means we got to move on.
That's my cue.
That's the cue. And okay. For me too, because we clearly go down these paths because we get so passionate and excited about, this. So we're going to try to stay really high level, and then we'll come back and we'll do a podcast on all of these individually. So then we can really dive into the weeds, because I promise you, after you listen to this, your head's going to be spinning. You're going to be thinking, but implementing and actually putting this into place is a whole nother ballgame.
Yep.
So let's dive into this, Josh. I'm going to do more of the question asking, since you are an expert in this space, the story brand expert that you are. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So we're going to go through 7. So the first part of the framework, Josh, is a character. So give us a high level. What does that mean? Who is the character?
So obviously in every story you have to have a character. No story begins with a character. And what we are doing with the story brand framework is we're using the power of story to talk about your business. And really, because for thousands of years, people have been using story to get across ideas and principles and ideologies, because that is the one thing that compels the human brain and inspires people. I don't know if you know this, Levi, but for most people, 30% of their day is spent daydreaming, unless we're engaged in a really good story. And I use the example of, I'm from a ministry background, so I used to preach, and I could preach for 20, 30 minutes. And, towards the end of it, you kind of would often look out and start seeing people's eyes glass over and those kind of things. We couldn't hold attention for 30 minutes, but I can sit through a 3 hours Avengers movie and not want to get up to pee. And it's because we're engaged in this good story. We're compelled by this story that has these 7 elements in it, that engages us. And so we start with that character, and the character always wants something. And that's usually defined at the beginning of the movie. The first 5 to 7 minutes will make it clear to us what the character wants. There is one tangible thing that they want. Now, I use the example of Jason Bourne. Don uses this in the book of, what does Jason Bourne want in those movies? He wants to find out who he is. But the mistake that screenwriters will often make if a movie bombs, or brands will make when they start talking about their customer, which is their character in the story, they'll define too many things that they want. And so, what if Jason Bourne wants to find out who he is, but he also wants to marry the girl, and he wants to lose 30 pounds, and he wants to run a marathon, and he wants to adopt a cat? We're not following that plot because there's too many different things that Jason Bourne wants, and our brains just can't keep up with that. It's burning too many calories trying to keep up with all of those different plots. But when you finish the end of the movie, you knew the one thing that Jason Bourne wanted. He wanted to find out who he was. And so that's what we need to do too.
So in this case, because Josh, that there's an episode right there that I could tell Josh was going down because it's so easy to do. I got to give him the fist bump here, because there's so much to the character. And I know you got, those listening to this, it's our customer or whatever, but there's a lot of pieces to that character and what, and again, here I go down that path too. So I'm going to stop us there. But Josh, real quick, in this, obviously this podcast is mainly for we direct this toward the car wash space. It really is for anybody, but the character in this case, right? This is your customer who obviously wants something. Now, the next step, part 2, this character who wants something, there is generally part 2 of this. There's a problem. There's something in the way. So tell me a little bit about the problem here.
So we create this agitation. We agitate the customer's desire by defining what it is that they want. But a story doesn't really begin until the character encounters a problem. And this is usually still towards the beginning of the movie. It's usually within the first 10 minutes, we can figure out what the problem is. For Luke Skywalker, his problem was he's stuck on Tatooine. He is, he wants to defeat the Empire. He wants to become this great person. Within the first few moments of the movie, he doesn't even know that his dad is a Jedi. We just know that he wants to be someone that matters, but he's stuck on Tatooine. So there's this problem that he has encountered. How is he going to overcome being this nobody in this, poor little town? This happens in all the movies. A story doesn't begin until we define what that problem is for our customer. If there's a story that has no problem, we're not really interested in the story. I use Liam Neeson movies all the time because Liam Neeson seems to make the same movie about every 3 or 4 years. And, so
and people still watch them.
Exactly. And they're always great. We're captivated by them because the problem is clearly defined. So let's take the movie Taken, and his daughter gets kidnapped, and he gets a call that says, "We have your daughter, and you've got to come. We want the ransom money and all of this." Well, what if just a few minutes later he gets a call from his daughter and says, "Hey, Dad, the bomb's a dud. I'm not. It was a college prank, but I'd still love for you to come over to Europe. Let's go shopping and talk about grad school." Well, the problem is over. The problem is done. We're not watching an hour and a half of a movie where there is no problem. We're not in captivated into that story. And the term that you and I like to use a lot is the hook. The problem
Hmm.
is the hook. When we can define the problem that's in front of people, that's what hooks them and says, "Oh, I do have that problem, and I need somebody that can help me overcome that problem."
Okay, so in this case, especially with the car wash, if I'm a car washer, I'm thinking, how does this affect me, right? Like, how does this affect me as far as the problem in this Liam Nielsen, movie and blah blah blah. We're not going to answer that question today, but there are
Yeah,
three things that part of the problem process here. There's three problems. There's an external, an internal, and a philosophical problem.
yeah.
I'm not, and I don't want you to either. We're not going to dive into those today, but I promise you this will make sense later. But
The
that is the
only thing that
problem.
I would say, and this will be a teaser for when we get into this, is the internal problem is where you differentiate yourself from your competition.
Yeah, I think we can all figure out what the external problem is in the car wash, but in the car
Right.
wash space. But we will. You're right. That internal problem is the one. If you solve that, then you're doing better than your competition. In order to solve that, Josh, people need what? They need a guide.
They need a
And so
guide.
that's the third part of the framework is meets a guide. So they gotta
Yeah.
they gotta find a guide. So
The
explain
the
that a
big
little bit.
idea, the big idea of the story brand framework is that your customer is the hero of the story, not your business. Businesses, brands, we often position ourselves as the hero of the story because we're the one doing the work, we're the one solving the problem for our customer. Our customers are not looking for another hero. Every day, you and I, we wake up as the hero in our own stories. We are the main character of our story. We're not looking for another hero. We are looking for a guide. Luke Skywalker wanted to be the hero. He woke up as the hero in his story. He met Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Obi-Wan Kenobi positioned himself as Luke's guide, not as Luke's hero, because that's not what Luke was wanting. That's not even what he was needing. He needed a guide to help him overcome his problem and put him on a path that would lead to success and Luke getting what he wanted. And so that's what we want to do with our business as well. We want to position ourselves as the guide to our customer rather than the hero. And a lot of the ways that we will position, we see businesses doing this, is we talk about our metrics. We talk about being number one in the industry and all of these different things. And we start using all of this language that positions us as the hero rather than as the guide that can help our hero overcome their problem.
All right, I had to give Josh, those who are listening and not looking, I got to give him the fist because it's so easy for us to get off track on this and go down. I'm excited to do the podcast on each of these individually, but I want to move on. Josh, so we have this guide. Obviously, and I'm going to make one point about it is that I think that's, to me, it was one of the most eye opening moments when I read about my company being the guide and not the hero. And I think so many of us have that flipped. We go into business thinking we need to be the best. We're the best at this. Come see us, blah, blah, blah. And immediately it could be a turnoff. But if we position ourselves as the guide and have empathy and authority, which we'll get into later, those are more attractive to our customer than us coming out and touting who we are. So we'll get into that a
Exactly.
little bit later. So as the guide, right, meets a guide, and what is a guide's job, right? A guide's job is to give
Give
them
them
a
a plan.
plan.
Yeah.
So that's
So
the
we
next
want to
step
do
in the
this.
framework.
If you've seen the movie The Hunger Games, Haymitch made the perfect guide to Katniss, and the reason why is because he had won the Hunger Games. So he understood what Katniss was going through, but he also had a plan to help her get what she wanted, which was win the Hunger Games, survive the Hunger Games. So we want to do that with our customer. We want to lay out a 3-step, and I like 3. People remember things in 3. Stop, drop, and roll. 911. We remember things in 3. So we want to give our customers a 3-step plan to let them know doing business with us is not going to be difficult. And now it may not encompass every step along the way, but we want to summarize. You may have 20 steps from getting your customer from point A to point B. We need to summarize those into 3 general steps to let them know, hey, we have a plan to help you get from point A to point B, and we're going to make sure you do it safely. And so we always describe it as like your customer standing in front of this raging river, and your plan is the 3 stepping stones that help them get safely to the other side. And that's what we want to do with our customers, a 3-step plan that helps them do business with you.
Man, I am so excited to dig into that because I feel like that is it's so simple, but yet so overlooked. And
Mhm.
people want to be directed. People honestly, I mean, we're a bunch of sheep, right? Just give us a plan, make it simple, don't make me think, and I'm going to get it done. And I'm very excited to get into that later on. But that's awesome. And I love that analogy, the raging river. Hey, here it is. Oh, look, all I have to do is this piece of cake, and now I feel comforted. I feel good about it.
Yep.
And in order to do that, Josh, to get to them to that, we're going to talk about the fifth part of the framework here, which is and calls them to action.
Yeah, so we people don't take action unless they're called to action. In movies, something has to happen. They got to get a phone call, or a bomb has to go off, or something has to call our character to action. The reason it's true in movies is because it's true in life. You know, our customers need to know the action we want them to take. The problem with most brands, the problem with movies is there's so many different actions we throw in front of them. You know, I use websites as an example all the time, and you and I have seen the effects of this with the websites that we've been able to design, and how much it's changed the performance of those websites by giving a one single obvious call to action. And so when people go to your wash, or they go to your website, or whatever it might be, we've got to ask ourselves, is it obvious to our customer the single one action we want them to take? And it should be something that makes you money, whether directly by purchasing something or by opting into something, that we'll talk more about when we dive deeper into these. But yeah, we've got to call our customers to action. And the problem is, this is the one thing that you can go into businesses and say, if you just change this,
Yeah.
it will change your business. Most people go to their websites and they don't have a buy now button. There
Yeah.
is no obvious single call to action. They just have all of these things that all look the same, all the different things that they could do. And if they would just change this one thing that says buy now, not learn more, not get started, but buy
By
now.
now.
Let people know when they click on this button, here's what's going to happen. It would change their business.
Well, people actually look for businesses that are very good businesses that actually don't have a good call to action. They'll invest in those businesses, change 2 or 3 things, and all of a sudden, literally double, triple,
Everything.
quadruple
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
business. And I think sometimes people are afraid to ask. I really do. I feel like from, oh, well, just I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to, so they're just kind of afraid. They don't want to come off salesy. They don't want to come off, but literally you've got to get that call to action. And in our business in OpSpot, we have what we call the 5 funnels to freedom. And that's our framework to really help. It's called not 5. It is the 5 funnels to freedom. It's our framework to help people get to their freedom number, which is
Mhm.
we talk about, and we've done a podcast about the freedom number. What does that look like, and your goals and whatnot. But in every one of our funnels, there's a call to action. Like you've
Yep.
got to have calls to action. There's got to be where we're asking and directing our prospects along with our existing members to do something. And so as
Mhm.
long as we keep that going, then you will hit that success number. So
Yeah.
that call to action, whether it's, on your site with signage, whether it's emails, whether it's text, of course, whether it's the online on your website, I don't care where it's at, what you're doing. If you're not putting a call to action on what you're doing, you're missing out on opportunity.
Well, and I want to make
Sorry to go down that path. We
no. Well, I want to address something that you said just a minute ago. If we're afraid to call people to action, to me that means we don't believe in our product. If you believe in your product and you believe that your product can solve your customer's problem, why wouldn't you call them to action? I mean, you and I, we believe in
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
in our product that we sell with OpSpot, that we're not afraid to tell people, hey, buy now.
Mhm.
One, we're not afraid to charge for it because we know it works, and we're not afraid to ask people to buy it because we know it works. We believe in our product. If you believe in your product, then do your customers a favor and call them to action.
Yeah, and I think a lot of you do believe in it, but I feel like still there's a lot of people we talk to, Josh, that when I hey, what are you doing when people come to your car wash? What are you doing to exchange, to engage in exchange, right? To exchange
Hmm.
information? Nothing. So a lot of people aren't even, exchanging a phone number, an email, some piece of important data to be able to re-engage. Again, I digress, go down that path. So let's move on. So calls to action, pretty simple in theory, but needs to happen throughout your entire organization.
Yeah.
So after the call to action, right, the next step. So this is number six. 6 and 7, it's kind of the same and it's split. So it's going to result in one of two things. It's going to result in success if they do business with you, or failure if they don't. So
Yeah.
touch on that.
Yeah, so our customers want us to cast a vision of what their lives could look like if they buy your product or service. And so that's what we want to do. When you buy this product or service, this is the great things that will happen. We want to talk about that. We want to let people know what life could be. That's why we set up the 5 funnels of freedom. If you apply these 5 funnels,
Mhm.
this is the freedom you're going to get to experience. This is the business you'll get to enjoy, the life that you would enjoy. The same with our businesses. We need to paint that vision for our customers and let them know, here's the results that you get to experience when you buy our product or our service. The same is true with failure. We need to let people know what's at stake. If a story has no stakes, it's not a good story. If there's nothing at risk for not doing business with you, there's no reason to do business with you. And so we also need to sprinkle that in there. And I like to use failure like pepper. You just kind of sprinkle it in there to give it some taste, but you don't want to put too much of it in there. We want to let people know, here's what's at risk if you don't do business with us. Here's what you stand to lose. Because again, if there's nothing to lose, there's no reason to do business. So we've got to talk about both of those things
Mhm.
and be pretty clear about what the future could look like if they do business with you or do not do business with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's good, Josh. That wraps us up on the 7 part framework there, but the story brand framework is kind of what we call it and what it's called. And so that's real high level. I'm super excited to dive
It's
into
hard
each
not to
one.
dive
It's
into
hard
these
not
so
to.
right now.
I know. There's so many areas in business. I don't care what business that you have, whoever's listening, every one of these, when you really dive into them and dissect them and then start communicating, implementing and communicating with your customers. I mean, look at OpSpot, for instance. I mean, when somebody just, and I don't want to go too far down this path, but OpSpot does membership marketing for car washes. Like, it's that simple. But if you asked me, Josh, hey, what do you do? And I said, oh, we do text message marketing and we do manage my plan and we do gift carding and we do building websites and we do, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we have 25 different things that we do. Ultimately, okay, it would blow people's minds and be like, oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah, it
I'm
would
not,
confuse them. It would
I'm
overwhelm them. They
confused
would
them.
walk away.
Absolutely. But if I say we do membership marketing for car washes, oh, okay. What does that mean?
Tell me
Now you can
more.
get into it a little bit, still on a high level, but it's not as confusing. And then once you get them going, you can explain and then meet that need of that customer where that customer's need is. So anyway,
Exactly.
we'll get into that later. Josh, I appreciate you obviously every time coming on board with OpSpot and bringing your expertise to Story Brand. I can't believe we still get to do this. That 4 years ago, I read this book. It changed my life. I have an expert guide on my team now, which is unbelievable. And the fact that we get to bring it not just to OpSpot and our customers, but for our customers. And that's really what we want to look to do is say, hey, how do we bring this to the space and how do we change the industry and do a better job telling a story, converting more people, building memberships, and ultimately hitting that success number, that freedom number, right? That we keep preaching to people. So
Yep.
well done.
Well, thank you. I get passionate about this. Like I said, it's hard not to dive into the details of this stuff, but I'm looking forward to the episodes that we do because, I mean, there's some good stuff packed into this. Yeah, pick up the book, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. You can
It's
get
a good
it at
one.
Amazon. I promise you, you read it, it will change the way that you
Yep.
not only see your business, but you see your customers and you see life in general.
Absolutely. And we're not getting paid for that, just so you know. We don't have a deal with Donald Miller. Dang it. Josh, you need to set
Nope.
that up. We just believe in it, and we believe it's going to help you. So make sure, you guys, that you're subscribing to this podcast. We would appreciate it on whatever platform that you're listening to or watching this. Share it with your friends. We really appreciate it. Hopefully that the information we're bringing to you every day is beneficial to you and your businesses. So thanks again. Have an awesome day today. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers.